Okay, so let's take a look at how you can use Google Cloud Platform to connect to Azure Data Studio for our SQL Server connection. So I have created one free account with Google Cloud Platform, and I also have my project and billing set up. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check the dashboard, and from here I'll be opening all products option. Now I will be first creating SQL Server instance, specifically SQL Server Express, and then connect it to Azure Data Studio. So let's take a look at what is Azure Data Studio. We search for it and it will take us to downloads page that looks something like this. It also comes in bundled with your SQL Server Management Studio, so you can use that way as well. So I have it installed. So what I will do is I will open from my desktop Azure Data Studio. Now let me open this so that it will open in a new window, right? So let's go there and wait for it to load, right? Meanwhile, we can take a look at our Cloud Console and then go to databases, where I'm going to check for SQL option. Now in SQL option, I will be clicking on this particular SQL area where I will be creating instance for SQL Express, right? So let's wait for it to show up. Let's have it in one of the window here, and let's give our Azure Data Studio another window on, let's say here. So I can expand it if I want to, right? So let's have it like this. As you can see, it also has that sort of option. So let's take a look at new connection. So when we try to create a new connection, and let's say it has the connection type SQL Server, we don't need to have any other extension for this. So here we'll be adding the IP, then we will be choosing SQL login option, and then add username password, and then choose database or keep the default, and then simply click connect. So we'll go through this later. So first thing we need is we will have to think of our option for setting up SQL Server Express on our Google Cloud. So here let's expand this. So I'm on instance, where you can see I already have one of the SQL Server Express instance, but I will show you how to create it, right? So I will click on create instance. Now here I will be choosing the database engine, where you can see MySQL, PostgreSQL, and SQL Server, where you have version of 2019 2017, where you can click on choose SQL Server. That option you can see where you have to choose the option for your database between Express, Web, Standard, and Enterprise. At the top you will have to mention the instance ID, something like, let's say, DevSQL Express 0102, something like that. Then comes your password part that you need to set up as well. Then comes the configuration. Production, if you choose, it will require high CPU, high memory. In case of development, it will be happy with the smallest possible configuration, like 2 CPU, 1 CPU, and minimal memory as well. Then comes your region and zone option, where you can see I will have to choose the region close to me. So I am in Asia, so I'll choose Mumbai. And here, as you can see from the list, there is this green icon showing the low carbon emission data center that you can check out, right? Now the thing is, once you select your region, next thing is choosing the zone. In my case, that's single zone. So it would be easier for you to set up test machine like this. If you have any production requirement, or the zone which requires the attention of your, let's say, multiple zones for delivering the data. Then you choose multiple zones and then even specify the zones, right? So I'm skipping that part. Now let's customize this entire instance by expanding that. Now here we will start from machine, where I can choose the CPU. You can choose variety of combination from here or from drop down list as high memory, standard, lightweight, etc. Manually you can choose through custom, right? Using these pre-made can be another good option, but remember that whatever higher you choose will also attract high cost as well. There is also multi-threading settings that you will access. It is currently disabled for our production, right? So let's move on to storage. By default, SQL servers get SSD storage, and you can choose between 10 to 200 GB. I will choose 20 GB to start with. You can also let it increment as required. There is also encryption option. So here you see Google managed encryption key. So that's the default, right? Then next is connection. Now in case of connection, you can see we have private and public IP option. I will try and add all the IPs and then choose the network 0.0.0.0/0. Now if I click on done, that will attract all the IP within public range. Now next thing is authentication. Currently we don't have Active Directory domain set, so that won't be possible for SQL Server authentication. So in my case, my current option is to choose authentication option in case of password. So username is SQL Server, password will be whatever you have given at the top at the time of creating instance ID. Then comes data protection. Now here you see automate backup option. You can choose whatever fits your case. Then you can even choose regions. Finally, you have to enable disable deletion protection, so that while the instance is running, it can't be deleted, right? It needs to be manually disabled, and then enable this particular feature for protecting that. Disable in case of you want to remove the protection. Maintenance, you choose the window when the patches will be applied within a week, so you choose that. Then comes order of update. You can choose any, later and earlier. So later is a good option or any is good option. Then flags and parameters, where you can choose time zone, your default correlation for database, right? And then finally labels. So label is one you apply in order to group your SQL instances and resources, and then you click on create instance. All of that works out, so you get the idea how to create the instance. Now what we'll do is click on the available set of options. Now here you see, once you have option of instance, you can click on the instance name. Now it will open the dashboard where we are supposed to check for connections, so that you can additionally add some constraint like SSL also in order to establish the connection. There is the public IP address that, let me copy this so I will be able to use with Azure Data Studio. Now the connection tab, where you can see this security tab, right? So here you can allow SSL connections, right? And once you do that, you can download the certificate, right? Also within networking tab, you can allow, disallow set of IP addresses. Once you do all of that, you are ready to connect to any tool out there. Now let's see, I have Azure Data Studio. I will click new connection. I will use IP address as a server name. Now next thing would be using SQL Server as username, then password, and then finally can encrypt, decrypt, tell it to connect. Once connected, it should trust the server certificate. If it doesn't exist or exist, we just have to move to next step. Now as you can see, it will show you the databases. Just click on that and there you go, you have your one of the database available. Let's see, I already have uploaded the table and its respective data. So what I will do is I will just run a search query on what it contains. So it will run in another new tab and you can see the result in the messages. And we have like 10 results or so, right? So you get the idea how to create an instance of SQL Server Express on Google Cloud Platform, then establish a connection with Azure Data Studio, and how to then work on that database, manipulate it, seeing those changes to your instance on cloud.